How better go, how better go there, how better go there, how better go where, how better go here, how better now, how better go.
Is buying to rent out risky? Welcome back. My name is Ted Thomas, and we're going to talk about tax defaulted real estate today. So rental property is certainly a little more complex than just buying a house and putting a sign in the front lawn and becoming rich. So we're going to talk about that. It's important that you know how to market the property. It's even more important that you understand to really look at the neighborhood. It helps to have an understanding of leasing. So renting property is just not going to be a piece of cake. Now, in your county or your city or your municipality, they're going to have rules for landlords. You must follow those rules. I can assure you, whoever rents that property from you will know those rules. So today in society, people know a lot. For example, that person renting from you knows that there's a lot of attorneys graduating law school and they're looking for work. My point is, you don't want that attorney suing you because you didn't know the rules. So save yourself a lot of money and learn what the rules are. So rental property is pretty darn expensive, especially the way prices are going up. So it requires that you make a down payment on that property. It also requires that you qualify for bank loans. So generally speaking, the banks will lend 75 or 80% on a rental property. That means you need 20 or 25% as your down payment. So rental property is a lot more than collecting checks. It's a lot more than fixing clogged toilets. It's a lot more than fixing leaky faucets. Okay, so you need to understand the law. That's number one, so that you treat those people accordingly and you don't make any violations of law. So my rule number one is know what the neighborhood is. You can fix the property, but you can't fix the neighborhood. So if you're in a bad neighborhood, I'm going to suggest that you're going to get a lot of bad tenants. So know what the neighborhood is before you buy the rental property. So location is really important. Bad neighborhoods create bad rental clients. So don't kid yourself. Property management isn't going to be a piece of cake. This is a challenge, okay? A lot of people do property management and think it's going to be easy to do. I can tell you it's not easy, and it's a thankless job. So if you're going to be involved in rental real estate because you want to make money, well, there's your big risk. What is the management? All right. Now, there's always going to be maintenance on older properties. Now, the maintenance can be an absolute nightmare. So when the seller is selling, there's no maintenance problem. But when you get it, you might find out there's a lot of maintenance problem. Now, here's your challenge. If the maintenance is high, you're going to have to pay retail for maintenance unless you're a person that wants to be over there working every weekend. All right, now the problem with that is if you're paying high for maintenance and you got 80% debt service on that property, you've got a real challenge on your hand. You probably have a negative cash flow property. Now there's good news. If you have a property where you can raise the rents and the people won't move, well, guess what? Now you've got an inflation hedge. Now you got a way to make some money and protect yourself on inflation. However, raising the rents is a lot easier to say than it is to do. All right, so what's expensive here? Number one, the real estate's expensive. Number two, the financing is expensive. Management costs a lot of money. All right, all of this costs a lot. So you really need a solution. So I'm going to give you a solution. First of all, you need money. All right, now you can either put up a lot of money and lower your payment by having less mortgage, or you can put more down payment, whatever you're going to do. But you want to stay out of the negative cash flow. So here's a solution. So follow along with me. Episode is all about, is buying to rent a risky proposition? Well, I'm Ted Thomas, and for 30 years, I've been involved in tax defaulted property. Now, this is a little known part of the traditional real estate business. Now, I started 30 years ago, and I've never looked back. It's a lucrative business. There's abundance of properties with tax defaults on them. So I found I could continuously buy low, and then what do? I sell it low, and I can either rent it or I can sell it. I prefer to sell it and go on to the next one because there's so many properties. All right, there's plenty of business, and there's an abundance of properties. I'll be right back and give you some more details. Okay, now today's episode is all about buying property to rent, and is that risky? The short answer is yes, it's risky, especially if you have high debt service and you have high maintenance on the property. Again, be sure and know what your neighborhood is. Good neighborhood, probably going to give you good clients to rent to. So achieving financial security is really possible with real estate because it will grow every single year and it generally can keep up with inflation. But you have to buy the right things. All right, so what's happening in the marketplace? Well, the banks are paying 1 or 2%. Stocks are paying 1 or 2% or less. So now you're going to be challenged. All right, so that means that's going to drive a lot of people into real estate. And when it does, the prices go up. The mortgage rates go up. The maintenance fees go up. So you need a solution. So I'm going to point one out as we go along. So I'm going to show you an alternative investment that's been available for 200 years. Okay, I've been involved in it for 30 years, and it's called tax defaulted real estate. Now, what is that all about? It just means the owner didn't pay the taxes. Now, where is this taking place? In all 3,000 counties have tax defaulted properties. Why did they have them? Because there's always going to be a certain amount of people that didn't pay the taxes. Now, what are these properties? They're going to be homes. They're going to be vacant residential lots. They could be small apartments, could be small office building, could be small farms. They could be acreages. These are properties that people didn't pay the tax. All right, now what's going to happen when they don't pay the tax? Well, the county's going to do something about that. First of all, there's a lot of consequences for everybody involved. The property owner is about to have the property forfeited to the county. The county now is going to seize the property. They're going to confiscate it. And what do they want with the property? They're going to put it on the auction block and they want to get it sold. They want to get it sold because they want that revenue, and they're going to take that revenue. The county treasurer, tax collector, going to take the revenue and pay the county bills. What bills are they going to pay? They're going to pay for the police department, the fire department. They're going to pay for the schools, the school teachers. You're getting the idea. All those bills have to be paid. So the county levies tax. If they can't collect it, they're going to seize the property. All right, now what are they going to do when they're going to sell it? They're going to sell these properties for 10 and 20 cents on the dollar. Starting bid is generally very close to the back taxes. Now, just because they start at 10 or 20 cents on the dollar doesn't mean they're going to finish at 20 cents on the dollar, because the tax defaulted properties are sold to the highest bidder. Anybody can go to the auction and bid. All you need is money to bid at that auction. You don't need an attorney. You don't need a banker. You can just go there and buy tax defaulted property. Now, when these properties are sold at auction, the county has canceled. They have wiped out the mortgage and the deed of trust loan. So when the county does that, you're buying a property with no mortgage and no deed of trust. In other words, no encumbrances on the property. Now, the treasurer starts at very close to the back taxes, and then the auction goes up. Anybody can buy. Now, every property will have a tax assessed value. So the auction will start way down here, basically at the back taxes, but the tax assessed value may be way up here. So all this margin could be profit for you if you can buy down here at the low prices. All right, so they're going to sell these properties for 60%, 70%, 80% discounts from this tax assessed value. 80% discount. Folks, if you can buy a property for a 60, 70, or 80% discount, how many of those would you want to buy? You'd want to buy as many as you possibly could. So the positive is that the treasurer tax collector has already deleted the loan. All right, so there's no mortgage and no deed of trust. The winning bidder is going to get a property with no encumbrances on the property. So that's pretty good. All right, now I'm going to show you some examples of this in just a minute. Now, I know late night television and many internet things are going to promise you're going to get rich. I don't think it's a get rich quick business. I'm an investor and I'm an author and a publisher, but I'm going to give you some creative ideas on how to buy these properties, buy them, and then either resell them or rent them out. So my intention is to show you all the possibilities I can, but you need to pay attention and embrace what I'm telling you about if you want to make some transformations in your life. All right, now I said property's going to sell for 10, 20 cents on the dollar. If you could resell that property into the public for 40, 50, or 60 cents, you'd be making yourself plenty of money. All right, now I'm going to show you some interesting example, at least one anyway, of a previous investor student that started with me and how I help other people out. Okay, so we're going to meet a couple from Michigan, and what they did is, actually the couple is from Wisconsin, but they traveled over to Michigan and they purchased a tax defaulted property. Now the property had a value of $55,000, but they bought it at the auction for only $8,000. Now that's less than 20 cents on the dollar. Now, they followed the rules that I talked about. The rule is clean it up, don't fix it up, clean it up and resell it. So they cleaned it up. So they invested $8,000. It cost another $4,000 to clean all the stuff out, get rid of it and clean it all up. So now they're in the property for a total of $12,000. Now they sold that property, and when they sold that property, they sold it for $35,000. All right, now they bought it for a total of 12. Now they sold it for 35, so they've made themselves $23,000. So they're feeling pretty good about it. However, the buyer requested an installment sale. In other words, the buyer was willing to pay them monthly each month until the property was paid for. So they agreed to do that. So when they agreed to do that, they figured out the payments would be $400 a month for 10 years. Well, that was a good deal for them because $400 a month for 10 years was $48,000. Well, let's kind of review the math. First of all, they paid $8,000, they spent $4,000 fixing, they're in at $12,000. Now they sold it for $35,000. Okay, so they made $23,000 profit. They could walk away right then, or they could rent it out. So they either got cash flow from selling or cash flow from rent. Well, why not get cash flow from a loan? So they sold on an installment sale, and they're going to make another $15,000. So the total in checks they're going to get over the 10-year period of time is $48,000. Folks, this could be a side hustle for you. Don't quit your job. Number one rule with Ted is don't quit your job. Number two rule with Ted is listen again when I say don't quit your job. You don't want to do that. But you could make enough money doing 2 or 3 of these properties to pay for any vacation you wanted. You could also make your house payments doing this. You can make your car payments. Why? Because you'll be able to get monthly income on these deals. Now, this is just a teeny tiny glimpse of the kind of spectacular things that you can do in this business. Now, there's going to be many more that I'll show you during some of the other episodes that I do. All right. Now, my students like this business. Why do they like it? The part they really like about the whole thing is you don't have to be a pushy salesperson. Why not? Because you're selling properties on installments, and who will finance these people? A lot of people, 25% of the people, can't get loans. Why can't they get loans? Poor FICO scores. They either get divorced or something happened. They don't have a good credit. So guess what? They need financing. So they're looking forward to being able to get that from you. So buy right. In other words, pick the right deal at the auction, then buy it low using this system, and then sell it at a low price. So they had a property that was worth $55,000. They sold it for $35,000. Guess what? They made $23,000. They did that in less than 60 days. All right, what does that low price do? It attracts people. Who does it attract? It's going to attract all the property flippers. It's going to attract those guys and gals that want to be fixer-uppers. It's going to attract all the people that are renovators that want to take those mediocre houses and make them into mansions. And it will attract 25% of the buyers that can't qualify for loans at the bank. All right, now I'm running out of time and finish this up, but right below me, if you want, I have an auction calendar, but let me tell you a little bit about that. First, take a look at what I'm going to show you right now. You see those little white circles? That's how many auctions are taking place within that state in the next 90 days. This calendar updates every single day. I'm here today to show you how to make money. To do that, I'm going to show you briefly that there are thousands of tax defaulted real estate properties across the 3,000 plus counties in the United States. This is quite interesting. You're looking at the Ted Thomas Magic Interactive Map and Auction Calendar. It changes every day. Now, I created the calendar and the map so I would know how many auctions are taking place every day in the United States. Now I can show the little guy how to make money. Most importantly, I created this system so I could have an auction list for each auction 24/7. Those properties are all available across the United States, folks. If you'd like to have an auction map, at least a sample of that, just go below me. All right, now I'll finish by telling you this. Don't buy a property unless you've had boots on the ground. If you haven't looked at the property, you don't know if it burned down. You don't know if it's next to a chicken farm or a pig farm. You don't know if it's had a windstorm damage. You don't know any of the number of things that could happen to a property. So don't buy a property without looking. While you're there looking, look at the neighborhood. Is the neighborhood good? If you want to rent the property, it's going to have to be in a decent neighborhood. Otherwise, you won't get decent clients. All right, I'm all finished for today. I'll see you on the next video. Don't forget, request your free auction list right below me.